Cincinnati's back in the orange and black. See the natty on the map, baby, tell me where you at. In the jungle, who they bringing it back to the jungle. And the game day, yeah, the jungle's back. Got the natty pack in the orange and black.
Welcome to the Cincinnati Bengals Weekly Show on the Grizzly True Sports Network. The Cincinnati Bengals Weekly Show is brought to you by BetNow.eu. Make sure you go to BetNow.eu, use the promo code TRUTH100 to get a cashback bonus on your first deposit. I am your co-host for the 0-10 Cincinnati Bengals Weekly Show, Mike Goodpaster. And right now I'd like to welcome in a man who actually played the Super Bowl for the Bengals. So if you're under the age of, 50, you probably don't know about that. But now, welcome to the show, Joe Kelly. How you doing, Joe?
Oh man, Mike, I think it's time for the brown bags. It's total disarray. I see total disarray. But somewhere in somebody's bar, I think Marvin is sitting down, and I think he's really smiling somewhere, man.
Marvin's coaching at Arizona State. He don't worry about this mess no more.
No. He's definitely not worrying, but. You want to change, you ask for change, and that's what you got. But by the way things are going, I can honestly say that now, as Bengal fans and Bengal Nation, if you really know football, you understand that it wasn't Marvin, and it damn sure wasn't Andy. I think
since 1991, we know who it was.
Right, exactly. So, you look at it and it's tough. It's tough. I see guys jumping ship. Despite even, I think yesterday's game, that was the best the defense had played since the opening game in Seattle. They got a couple of guys back, but still, there's too much that they're missing on offense. Offensive line is still a major problem. I think putting Andy on the bench was, had Andy played yesterday, in my opinion, they would have won that game. But they've made decisions and they got to stick to them. So when you look at it, they are going to be they're putting their careers, lack of career, I want to say on the line, based on some of the decisions they make, and I really think it's affecting some of the older guys. There was a lot of chatter that Zach was going around to the young players and telling the young players to step up and lead, and I think based on how he said it, based on the approach, I think we could offend some of the, elder statesman guys. And so guys who, in my opinion, probably could play, had they been in contention, had the atmosphere been a little different, Mike, I think here now, if I haven't hurt ankle, if I have a concussion, if my knee is hurting a little bit, I don't think I'm going to go out there and play for these guys this year and run an opportunity or chance of getting hurt. And the way they did Andy, I don't want them to do it to me. So I think there is some of that in the atmosphere, and as a result, man, you see we're 0-10.
Yeah, and I don't even know where to start with this. How about this? Preston Brown might make the playoffs now, though, because the Oakland Raiders signed him today.
I felt that. I did. So the day he cut, they released him. I sent him a text message. He texted me back, and we talked about. I just talked to him about how eerily similar this year's Bengals team was to that 1990 New York Jet team. But at least Bruce Cossett had some. He was a prolific offensive coordinator. Had led the number one offense in the National Football League prior to him being signed as head coach. Whereas you look at these two, you look at Zach Taylor. Zach Taylor's never been a head coach on any level. He's never been a coordinator on any level, and subsequently the defensive coordinator. They've never been in position. So when you're talking about competing with the best athletes, some of the best coaches on the planet, then all of a sudden you're put into a role where you're leading one of the only 32 franchises on this planet, and you have no idea what the hell you're doing. This is the result, Mike. 0-10. I think it's a lot of coaches who are glad that they didn't pull the trigger and come and sign on to the coaching staff. And it's just going to be interesting to really see how long the Browns are going to stick with them. Are they going to? Is it a short rope? Are they going to be? I look at Cleveland Browns and with what happened up there with Hugh Jackson. Well, they totally were rebuilding, and in my opinion, we were not a team that we totally needed to rebuild. And you took a team, in my opinion, who was maybe 3-4 players away from, being able to compete with some of the good teams in the AFC, now to being the worst team in the NFL. And you have to put the onus on the coaching staff.
Yeah. I mean, you got to put the onus on them being stupid enough to come here and take the job. I know that Bengal fans were pumped up and excited that they were going to get away from Andy, and we got away from Andy. And yesterday, Ryan Finley had one of the more amazing games you'll ever see a quarterback have, as he completed, I think, 13 out of 31 passes for 114 yards. So I think the Bengals have found the answer at quarterback, Joe.
Well, in their opinion, and ironic, so you see how coaches are and how how stubborn they can be. And it's unfortunate that if the same applied to players will be out of the league. Coaches, unfortunately, they don't always. They're not treated the same as players. Here, they're coming. If you looked at the game,
well, Joe, some places they are. It's just here they're not.
Yeah, it's here. So let's be specific. It is here. But if you look at how yesterday's game went, and knowing the throws that Andy can make, Andy would have made more than half the throws that Finley didn't. He has a totally better command. So when the coaching staff talks in the media and you do your press release, your press release, and you're talking, after the game or even prior to the game, and you say what person gives you the best opportunity to win right now, and there's no way that he can go to sleep at night and think to himself that Ryan Finley gives the Bengals a better opportunity to win any game, this year, prior to, Andy being benched. So they've made decisions, and, they're going to have to stick with it. You're going to have to try and continue to put Ryan Finley in a position that he doesn't look bad. That's why Joe Mixon ran the ball 30 times last week, being down 38-3, and we're running lead plays because you're trying to keep the ball out of his hands. So the least amount of opportunity he has to screw up, the less you are going to be ridiculed about making the move and putting Andy on the bench. So they're going to do that, and the same thing. They're dumbing down the offense. They're running simple routes, quick routes. You're throwing. I don't know how many times I've seen them throw it's a pass route, and it was a 1-yard route.
Yeah.
Is that how is that in anybody's offensive scheme where your route you out and went you ran a route and it was a 1-yard route, and I seen that at least 5 times Sunday, and that's I think that's just indicative of how in the panic mode that this coaching staff is in.
Yeah, I agree. Jermaine Pratt, Nick Vigil are our starting linebackers. I don't even have a question with that. It's just
I speak on backers. I speak on backers all day, and they have decided to play 57. And I'm sure he's a good kid. I'm sure, in North Carolina he had a.
Hey, I'm sure on a real football team with a real coach, he'd probably be a good player.
And you put him at the position that he's used to playing.
That's what.
Now
I mean.
You got him playing at inside linebacker. It's your guy. And I remember Bruce Coughlin and Pete Carroll putting a guy named Bobby Houston in from North Carolina State. He was their guy. They picked him, and Bobby was about 6'3", 240, and at the combine he ran, I want to say 4.4 flat, 4.39. Built like Tarzan, played like Jane. Oh man, he couldn't bust himself out of paper towels. He was awful, man. And they tried to play him and start him maybe about 4 or 5 games, and until it just became so obvious that they had to put him back on the bench. And that's what they're doing. You see the rotation now that they released since they released Preston. I see Jordan Evans playing. They're constantly rotating those guys in because they're searching. They're searching, Mike, and I don't know how you at this point how you're not looking for leadership from your older players. And I think, honestly, in my opinion, I think AJ has played hurt over his career here. I don't, and I know Drake Kirkpatrick's trainer personally. I work out there 3 times a week, and had we been in contention, I think he could have played. Same thing with Gordy Glenn. I just think that the veteran players are seeing these young people, these young coaches come in, and they're catering to their younger players, some of the guys that they drafted, and they're alienating the older players. And as a result, you see guys, in my opinion, a lot of guys are, they're packing it in, and they can say they are not. They played a little better yesterday, but I think it was indicative of the team. I think the Raiders are a mid-level team. I don't think they're dominant in any fashion on any side of the ball, and they were making enough mistakes for the Bengals to stay in contention.
Well, I think when I watch the Raiders, I see a mid-level team, but I think they have a very good quarterback. I think they have a very good running back. But the thing that stands out to me is that they are a team that looks like they're having fun playing.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. They play football. They're in a tough conference. They have. It's ironic. They have. I think their offensive line has yielded the least amount of sacks in the NFL this year, and it just was ironic that we were getting to their quarterback. But like I said, when we talked about in the beginning of the season, Mike, we always felt that the core and the strength of our team was our D line. And you had Carlos Dunlap back the second week back, so he probably was a little more better game condition. And then you had Lawson. Lawson, I think he's getting his energy level and his feet and feel of the game back. And those guys are making some impact plays. And I think the defense obviously kept the Bengals in the game, but like you said, if we had Andy, I think based on how the game was going, Andy definitely could have put us in a lot better situations.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure Opie Taylor would have kept us from winning either way. Um, I think it's better that Andy doesn't play. There's no reason to get hurt in this mess and screw up his career. Might as well just let him play next year. Maybe he can go to the Bears. He could probably be a Super Bowl contender there. I don't know. John Jerry. Is it possible he's worse than Bobby Hart and Andre Smith?
Wow. He damn sure did an audition. See, I didn't think that was possible until yesterday. The Raiders got a good young defense. But it was sometimes it looked like as though he was in quicksand, man. I've seen guys, speed rushing him, and he's literally hadn't even got out of his stance yet. So, it's just, but that's coaching. That's repetition. What are you doing in practice? There's so many drills to work on your feet. You have, a Hall of Fame offensive tackle there. You have another soon-to-be Hall of Fame tackle, Big Willie Anderson, who's willing and able. I talked to Willie. He's willing and able to come down there and show those guys some technique and work with them. But they are reluctant to let him come down because, the coaches don't want to be shown up. So, at the end of the day, is it about winning? No, man, because, there's things that you could have done, and there's still things that you could do in order to have a better or more successful season. I think, obviously, when they did make any moves we're in a dire situation with the offensive line, and there was, I don't even know if they even spoke of making any kind of moves. And had they made a move offensively, as far as the offensive line is concerned, I think they could have salvaged the season, at least make this season respectable. Now, you're on the verge of futility. You're on the verge of, being, quote unquote, one of the worst teams in the history of the NFL. So, it's yet to be seen, but based on the direction that we're going and how we're looking, it's not looking good, Mike.
No, it doesn't, Joe. It doesn't at all.
Oh man, it's such a downer, dude.
They play the Steelers next, though.
It's Steeler week, so I don't know.
Stop it, Joe. It's not Steeler week. It's a bad Bengals team, and now probably a bad Steelers team playing
now
each
a
other.
Bad Steelers, yeah.
The Steeler week's out that damn door, Joe. But I'll tell you what, the Steelers are missing enough players that maybe this would be like the Bengals. As a Bengal fan, you always want to beat the Steelers, and the first time we will be when we're 0-10, and it doesn't mean a damn thing.
And it doesn't mean anything.
Other than it hurts our draft status, possibly. It cuts our lead maybe to a game.
Yeah, but I still don't. I don't see our offensive line being able to block the Pittsburgh. So we can try and joke about this being Steeler week and it's Steeler week, but like I said, I don't think our team is capable of. We don't have a tough team. I don't see toughness, man. I don't. I see some D linemen. I said all season long. We have some D linemen. Atkins. Atkins. Gino kicks ass. We did have some other interior guys stepping up. I can give kudos to our D line. They are busting their ass, and unfortunately, you just don't have the other pieces to go with it. Offensively, you have Joe. Happy for Joe. He's out there, man, and he's making some plays, making some runs, and I'm glad he was able to have at least have a decent game being back home. But you look at everything that you can possibly do to try and talk about some bright spots. In the game. But at the end of the day, we are 0-10, man, and going into Steeler Week. Mike, you could have bet me anything in the world, and I probably would have bet you if you said we would have been 0-10 going into this Steelers Week.
Joe, I would like to bring up when we predicted the records at the start of the season, I said I thought the Bengals would win a game or two, and you and Ty mocked me.
Yeah, now look who's getting mocked, huh? That's crazy, man. You know, it is. It's I don't know, man. And can you blame all players? Have we had guys hurt? Yes. But
how about this, Joe? I don't think you blame the players in this case because these players, especially in the offensive line, are guys that shouldn't even be in the NFL. Blame the guys who signed them. You know, maybe come out and explain to us what made you think Bobby Hart should be signed or why John Jerry, after not playing at all last year in the NFL, could possibly start for the Cincinnati Bengals. You know, explain to us why Cedric Ogbuehi and Jake Fisher were drafted, why Billy Price was drafted in the first freaking round. And, you know, everybody bitches about John Ross being a bust, and so far he has. I'm not going to say he's not. But Billy Price gets a freaking pass being a complete and utter bust. I have never seen Billy Price fire off and block anybody ever. I have seen John Ross score a few touchdowns at least. Yeah.
You know, I think John was in line to have a breakout season, honestly. But, you know, part of being successful in the NFL is staying healthy. What do I look at? You know, I think it's a lot worse when you look at the offensive line that they drafted and they kept. You know, it goes back to the last offseason when you signed Bobby Hart for $21 million. And you looked at the same. You even had a better view because we were looked at the game. You were able to look at film. So you were able to break down how bad his feet is. You were there to look at film and see how bad his balance is. You were able to see that. And there's nothing as a coach. You know, like you said, I don't know him personally. I've met him. You know, could be a great guy. But as a coach, this is football. As a coach, there was nothing that I seen as a former player that said even keep him on the roster, let alone give him $21 million.
The one that got me was the drafting of Michael Jordan because as soon as they drafted him, I watch his film. He doesn't hit anybody. He catches people. And I'm thinking, he's catching the Indiana defenders. How in the hell is he going to block a Baltimore Raven? I mean, you watch Billy Price, same thing. They're catching. I think Larry Johnson at Ohio State's maybe the best defensive line coach, at least in college football, if not anywhere. I don't know who coaches the offensive line at Ohio State, but whoever does, he sucks.
You know, and it's a technique. You know, you have some coaches that's the type of technique they teach, man. They catch. They're catching. You know, if you're going to San Francisco 49ers, back in the day, you know, they're going to cut. You know, San Francisco, you play San Francisco, get ready to get cut. You know, get ready to get leg whipped.
But you know what? I don't want to get cut or leg whipped, but if you want to try to catch me, I'm good with that.
Oh, yeah. And, you know, I thought, and I think we both thought, Mike, going into the year, that our new offensive line coach, he was you know, you're coming from Dallas.
No, that was last year. We got rid of him. Frank Pollock. They brought the dude in that, you know, was the asshole in Miami who then went to Texas A&M.
Right.
Yeah, because Frank Pollock wanted the hell out of here is my bet also.
Yeah. So, you know, no wonder that their technique is so bad.
How about this? I want Greg Williams to be the head football coach here.
Greg could possibly. Greg's a tough guy.
I just want somebody who won't take no shit that wants to line up and play football.
Yeah,
that's all I want.
Yeah, and you know what? When you hired a quarterback coach, right? So understand this: this quarterback coach more than likely never coached anybody except the quarterbacks. So
Not
he wasn't in the
true,
offensive line
because
room.
he was only a quarterback's coach a couple times in his short career. He was the wide receivers coach before he was the quarterback's coach. And I mean, come on.
So now you understand. You put him now. He's in the position of evaluating talent. He's choosing. You know what offensive lineman is better than the next. You know, this offensive tackle, that guard. Looking at Billy Price. So you're not evaluating talent. You're listening to Mel Kiper, like I've always said. That's why you'll get a Billy Price. Because if you look at the film, he's worse than what you had. You know, so all the if we could have kept some of the offensive linemen that we let get away, we would be in such a better situation. Because it's not like you're paying these guys pennies. You sign some decent contracts.
But how about this, Joe? Andrew Whitworth's not looking too good anymore. Kevin Zeitler is probably the only guy you lost that could really help you right now. And everybody talks about Jonah Williams not playing. But, if Jonah Williams played, you'd have one tackle. We still need 4 other offensive linemen. It's not like Jonah Williams can block everybody. So, I don't know. It's just frustrating. Are they going to beat the Steelers?
No. Because we're not offensively. We're not tough enough. I think even despite how well, I think our defense battled. I think our defense, they hung in the game. I'm going to give them that because they kept us in the game. But I think Pittsburgh's defense is going to totally dominate our offense again.
Oh yeah.
I think it's going to be ugly. I think Pittsburgh D-line and their linebackers going to be running around. I don't hear or I haven't got any wind whether or not AJ is going to play.
AJ ain't playing till he gets a new contract that is very favorable to him, and I don't blame him.
I don't. I totally. I told him now. Here now that season's over. Season's over. It's just a matter of time. We're going to go through the motions. And honestly, I hope he doesn't play. I hope because you know what? They don't deserve AJ to play.
No.
The organization doesn't deserve it, and this new coaching staff, they do not, in my opinion, they do not deserve AJ Green to take a snap for them. They don't.
Let me ask you this, Joe. Is there any way that they catch enough heat for this season that Zach Taylor could just be a one and done?
I think based on the fact that we were not a team that needed to be in a real rebuilding mode like Cleveland was, and even Cleveland gave you 2.5 years. They sold the ranch. We didn't do that. We kept those core guys. We kept Geno Atkins, Carlos Dunlap. We kept Kirkpatrick. We kept some guys on offense. You kept Eifert. We were not in a total rebuilding stage, and you have taken a team who was potentially 2-3 players away from being able to compete, damn sure to compete to go to get a playoff spot, and we are now back in the Dave Shula era, and we are now the laughing stock of the NFL. So that is totally coaching as well as ownership. But in my opinion, going 0-16, going 2-14, should he deserve an opportunity to have a second year? In my opinion, absolutely not.
Fire his ass, says Joe Kelly. I agree with Joe.
Absolutely not. I think there are, like you said, Greg Williams. I still love Eric Bieniemy.
Yeah, but remember this. Are those guys really going to want to come here? If any of them come here, it's because they feel like their time's running out and nobody else is giving them a chance, which is why we got Marvin. You look at this, Mike. You're still a head coach
It's only 32 organizations on this planet, and you're one out of 32. So there's only 32 jobs on the planet.
Yeah, but look at how many people turn even interviewing for this job down. I mean, there was 5 or 6 the last time, and my question is, there's only 32 jobs. If you take one in Cincinnati, can you survive that?
And that's the question, Mike. That's the question right there. So, but if you're for instance, I'm looking at this the Kansas City game, and I'm looking at Eric Bieniemy on the sideline. And I think he's a guy who deserved to be a head coaching job. Will a guy like that take a chance and be a head coach at Cincinnati? In my opinion, absolutely. Because look at this, he's been in the league, he's learned under Andy, he's been there. You know, he's not only calling plays, he's developing offensive schemes. So he's put in the work. So here, if I go to Cincinnati and bomb out in a year or two, I've still proven that I've put the most prolific offense in the history of the NFL together. So
no, he didn't. He didn't coach the '99 Rams, Joe.
Oh yeah. Well, you see what he did with Mahomes.
He didn't. This is the thing with Mahomes. He throws a great deep ball, and they found some guys he can't overthrow. I don't like Andy Reid. I think they play PlayStation football too. So I can't believe you want him.
Yeah, I absolutely would take him.
Hey, he plays PlayStation football, though, Joe.
No, I absolutely would take him over this guy.
They don't run the ball. Well, I'll take almost anybody over this guy, Joe.
Yeah.
You know, I was hoping they would sign Colin Kaepernick at quarterback because we know that Mike Brown thinks he's the great redeemer. At least it would have brought some excitement here for a while.
Well, you would have excitement, and you would have, people burning jerseys and all that dumb shit, in my opinion.
If you're not burning jerseys by now, you're never going to burn them anyways.
Right. So I don't know. You look at some of the things that the organization has done, keeping a Chris Henry, going out and signing a Terrell Owens. You look at some of and keeping Pac-Man on the roster, after so many, legal run-ins. I mean, you look at if you recall 2 years ago, I think we talked about Joe Mixon and how many fans were irate, and they hired they drafted a guy who hit a lady, and I would never go to the bingo game, and
hey, you know what? Maybe they didn't, Joe. There's hardly anybody there.
Yeah, but you see Joe Mixon jersey. You don't see people talking about wanting Joe Mixon.
This is the thing with Joe. He was 18 when it happened. There was mitigating circumstances that nobody paid any attention to. If it was Tyreek Hill, I probably wouldn't want to watch that. And my problem with anything coming from Andy Reid is, I just think in the end he's a dude that when it's a big game, no matter how explosive he is, he plays not to lose that game. To me, Andy Reid is Marvin Lewis with a few playoff wins, which means he's a good coach. I said Andy Reid is Marvin Lewis, only he's won a few playoff games. I mean, he's a good coach, but it seems like in big situations, they're afraid to take a chance like a Bill Belichick, a Pete Carroll, a Mike Tomlin. Those guys will try to take a chance to win the game. And Marvin and Andy, to me, Andy, for some reason, will not run the ball in the playoffs, no matter what team he's with. I mean, the Eagles team he had should have won a Super Bowl at least once.
Yeah. You look at and we looking at it, and you're talking about a Belichick, you talk about Pete Carroll, you talk about coaches who have won the big game, but you wouldn't mention Belichick in the same breath that you mentioned him now when he sucked at Cleveland.
I wouldn't, because he didn't suck at Cleveland, Joe. That's a myth.
Well,
you got to remember this. In 1991, the Browns were 1-15 when he got hired. By 1994, he's beaten Bill Parcells in the playoffs, and that 95 team was one of the favorites to go to the Super Bowl. And they started the season off. They were 6-4. They were in first place, and then Art Modell announced the move, and everything fell apart. So, also Belichick was the brains behind one of the greatest defenses of all time with the New York Giants in the mid-'80s and into the early '90s. Yeah. So, I think go ahead.
Well, I say that, and so I mean, those guys have been able to coach long enough to redeem the bad, just like Pete Carroll. You know, Pete Carroll was terrible. He was a horrible head coach in New York and New England. You know, and you know, but he's redeemed himself. So you look at the
Opie Taylor ain't ever going to redeem himself.
Well, you know, you look at what kind of coach will come to Cincinnati, knowing the owners. Is this like, you know, some of the elite free agents? You know,
ain't no elite free agents coming here.
Well, yeah, you know, unless it's a trade. You know, I'm saying here, you look at, okay, what could we possibly do? Obviously, you know, Andy is done. Obviously, Finley is not going to be the answer. So more than likely, you know, you're gonna look and looking to get a quarterback. You know, my thing is, you know, here, can you trade, you know, the first pick and trade down to pick 8? And still get a quarterback,
no.
But with that pick, trade and get a Trent Williams.
With the quarterback we saw, though, I think the Joe Burrow kid. I thought Tua was too, but now you get the injury, so you can't really mess with him right now. But the Joe Burrow kid, what I saw with him playing at LSU against Alabama was pretty damn special. So was Tua, and I really like both of those guys. The Herbert kid, I'd rather have Tua or Burrow over because his biggest situation this year against Auburn, he couldn't get a couple needed first downs, or that team would be in the college football playoffs right now. But the Joe Burrow kid, to me, and Tua are two kids that fight to the bitter end. And if you watch Tua in the fourth quarter of that game against LSU, he's limping around, he's making plays, but every time he would make a play, Joe Burrow come out and make a play. And I think I've got a lot of people that tell me, well, why wouldn't you want Chase Young? He's the best player. Yes, he's the best player, but I will equate it like this. Reggie White, one of the greatest defensive ends of all time. But if I told you Chase Young could be a little bit better than Reggie White, or you could have a quarterback that would be a little bit better than, I'm not going to say Tom Brady because he's a once-in-a-lifetime guy, or a Joe Montana, but if you could have a quarterback, you know, Patrick Mahomes or Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson, I think, is a better example because he's been around longer. But if you could have Khalil Mack or Russell Wilson, who do you want? You want Russell Wilson because he's the quarterback. And if you get a special quarterback, it doesn't matter where you are, and I always equate it to this. In 1998, if the Colts don't win that coin toss for the number 1 pick and they get Ryan Leaf, they're in Los Angeles by 2003. Because the only reason Lucas Oil's Field was built for them is because they got Peyton Manning and made the playoffs in 1999. Because I remember going there to Bengals games in the late 80s, where, you know, I think it was 1987, you played in that game. I think there was more Bengal fans there than there were Colts fans.
Probably. But you I mean, that's, you know, that's subjective, you know, when you look at that. If, you know, because when you look at, when you had with Peyton and Ryan Leaf was a can't miss. He was can't miss guy, you know. And when you say, okay, defensive impact and Reggie White, you know, I don't know. I played with Reggie. I don't know. I don't know if I passed Reggie White for a quarterback. In my opinion, defensive guy, no, I wouldn't. You know, you look at Aaron Donald. You know, would you pass on Aaron Donald to take a quarterback? I don't know because if
you know what though,
if
you
not,
trade Aaron Donald to New England last year and give them, Tom Brady in the Super Bowl, Rams win the Super Bowl. My thing is this with the Bengals. I think this organization.
Not if you got Aaron Donald. Not if you got Aaron Donald. Breathing down his neck. I look at how. Okay, Russell Wilson. When you say that, yes, but those we're talking about maybe about 4 or 5 quarterbacks in this league.
This is my point, Joe. I knew you were going to go there, but I think the only thing that can save the Bengals organization is if they get lucky and get a guy like that. Outside of that, we're never winning a damn thing because our ownership is so bad. The only way this team starts to win is the same way the Colts did. The same way the 49ers did in the late 70s when they got lucky with Joe Montana. We need a transcendent quarterback who, no matter what the offensive line is, because if you look at Seattle, Russell Wilson's offensive line is bad. It's not as bad as the Bengals, but I'm pretty sure if you put Russell Wilson here, and it doesn't matter who the coach is, we're at least winning 3 to 5 games right now because I think Russell Wilson is one of the greatest quarterbacks I've ever seen play. I think he is the number one quarterback right now in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think you're going to when you look at percentages-wise, I think you're going to win more picking a defensive guy, be safe. If you hit and you get that quarterback, you win. Absolutely. But I think, if you're looking at trying to build a dynasty, most dynasties were built on defense. Unless you win and you get that quarterback. You get that quarterback. Terry Bradshaw, if he came to the Bengals probably would be worse than they were if they
I don't think so because my take on Terry Bradshaw though.
Defense, Pittsburgh, the dynasty was defense. Dallas dynasty.
Remember
defense.
this. Hold on now. Let's have it because I'd rather talk about old football and the shit we watch today, anyways. But the first 2 Super Bowls the Steelers won was predicated on defense. The Super Bowls of 78 and 79 were more offense. You still had defensive players there, but they were older. And the thing that stands out about Terry Bradshaw is a lot of people give Terry Bradshaw a lot of crap. But Terry Bradshaw, in every Super Bowl he played, all 4 of them were close games in the fourth quarter. And in the fourth quarter of every one of those games, he threw a touchdown pass that won that game. I mean, they're up 9-6 against Minnesota in Super Bowl IX. He throws a touchdown pass. He threw the 2 touchdown passes to Swan in the second half to beat the Cowboys. And remember this. To beat the Dallas Cowboys, it wasn't like the Steelers' defense was awesome. He beat them 35-31. He also had, and this is the thing, with dynasties are built pretty much on having everything. Because you can't tell me a dynasty that didn't have a Hall of Fame quarterback, and you can't tell me a dynasty that didn't have a great defense.
Yeah. I mean, you go say because I think you can miss with a D lineman, But if I'm the coach, Mike, I'm drafting Reggie White. You can go ahead and draft.
How about this though? We've got Geno Atkins, and we're 0-10.
But Geno, as great as Geno is,
he's a defensive tackle too. It's a little different.
Yeah. Oh, he's a very deep, but he's not Reggie White. I'm not gonna put him in Reggie White.
But you know what? Reggie White on this team would make a damn bit of difference right now.
Oh no.
But Russell Wilson would.
Yeah. On this, you're absolutely right. I look at, like I said, you would have to really hit. I look at, Russell. If Russ had any, you look at Tom. Tom is able to,
and Tom's offensive line sucks ass right now, and they're still 8-1.
Yeah, but you look at, those, like I said, you got Tom, you got Russell. They're doing it. Russell's never had a top tier wide receiver. He's never had a top tier running back. He's had an average line too.
Well, he had Marshawn Lynch for a while.
Oh well, yeah, when he had Marshawn, when they won a Super Bowl. But you look at the guys that he has now. They're role players. They're wide receivers. Even with Alex Baldwin, when they won, those were role players. They weren't a unit scheme for Doug Baldwin. So when it's like Tom doesn't he's had Randy Moss. He's had he's had some good receivers, but he hasn't had genuine, number one kick-ass receivers, and he's still rolling. So when you look at that, if you can hit on the quarterback, you're absolutely right. But then, you can draft Ryan Leaf.
But we've drafted Ryan Leaf
Thompson
twice already in Klingler and Smith. So what are the chances we do it? I'm just saying this. In the end, for us to win a Super Bowl, I think they would need a special quarterback, because the thing about it is this. The special quarterback, before Brett Favre got to Green Bay, in 1987 or 88, if you'd have told Reggie White someday you're going to end up in Green Bay, he'd have laughed at you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
When they had that quarterback, Reggie White wanted to go play there. But the only problem there is Mike Brown's never going to overpay, even if it's for Reggie White.
No, he's not. And unfortunately, so as we look at this season being totally over, this season being just an absolute catastrophe, and looking over, on the horizon, but the Bengal organization, they have Jonah Williams. They're going to be all in with him, hoping that he can turn out to be, close to Willie Anderson and Anthony Munoz. I don't see them. I see Hart. I see majority of those guys back again. Then you got Michael Jordan. I see. Okay, you got Jonah. I see the organization not going out and like in my opinion, if you can trade down, maybe you don't get Burrows, maybe you don't get Tua, maybe you get the Oregon quarterback, maybe University of Washington quarterback would be dumb enough to come out this
Jacob
year.
Eason?
I think he should stay in, but maybe he is foolish enough, and you can, but I don't even see the Bengals willing and dealing like that in order to
No,
say, okay,
if they were going to, Dalton and Green would have already been out of here.
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess it's wishful thinking, Mike. You look at
everything we do is wishful thinking here, Joe.
Yeah, and I don't see, I see them, like I said, not giving AJ away, and then ultimately putting a franchise tag on him.
And he will refuse to play. I'll bet you anything.
Yeah, he's going to be bitter. So he's going to, he's going to be looking at this thing like Carson Palmer. I think here Ross will come back, but what is he going to come back? He's going to be hurt again.
I just hope when AJ leaves and Andy leaves, they just blow the top off of this like Carson did and just tell everybody what the hell's wrong here.
Well, I don't think anything that they're going to say, Mike, is going to surprise me or you.
No,
maybe
it may surprise some fans. It may, but then again, when Carson did it, half the fans still think Carson quit on him, which is absolute bullcrap.
Yeah,
Carson was trying to help, and I think Carson did make a change in this organization for a few years. And then I think they got complacent because they made the playoffs and everybody was happy because, let's face it, in Cincinnati, if you go 9-7, you're happier than hell. It's like we did an Indiana Football Weekly Show tonight, which we've been doing all year. Indiana loses to Penn State, but it was only by a touchdown, so all the Indiana fans are happy. Oh, we're headed in the right direction. Yeah. My take on it is we still haven't beaten anybody worth a damn since like 1993.
Yeah, they did play well, but like I said, you
gotta
become
win.
Complacent.
Yeah,
you become complacent, and you are you're satisfied with that. And I think based on how many bad years that the big organization has had since the 90s, that fans are they are complacent. That's a good year. At least we're not 0-16.
Well, how about this?
We're 9-7.
I think the Bengals are in a really dangerous time, which is why maybe you'll see something done with the coach, because I think that this is worse than the 90s right now. And I think it all started with that Bengals-Steeler playoff game and that fumble. And I think what you have now, and I speak for myself, I was doing something other than watching the Bengals yesterday, which I've never done. So to me,
Right.
the worst thing Bengal fans can do is be apathetic. And that's what this has turned into. Apathetic doesn't care anymore. And when you get to that point, it's really hard to bring people back and to get people to trust in the product you're putting on the field.
Yeah. You know, I'm hoping. I think, like you said, with Carson, you know, people, a lot of non-football fans, in my opinion, said he quit. They didn't understand what he was saying. But then you look at some of the changes that even us as former players, alumni, and them signing their core guys. You know, they gave Geno a long contract. They gave Dunlap a long contract. You know, they gave Kirkpatrick. So they were unlike in the past. They were not, you know, in the past, if they had to pay one tackle, the other one was getting traded.
Yeah.
You know, if they had to pay one linebacker, the other linebackers were getting traded. So the fact that they would sign multiple D linemen to long-term contracts, you know, they had AJ under contract. They gave 83. They gave him, yeah. So they gave, you know. So you look at there were some subtle changes. You know, they did change because in the past they did not do that. When I was a player, they were not doing that. You know, they were absolutely, we're not going to, you know, pay these guys, you know, several, you know, both offensive tackles. You see what Dallas Cowboys have done. You know, that would never happen in our lifetime. Or they'll give, you know, that much, they'll allocate that much money to an offensive lineman. That you know, that won't happen. But we, you know, maybe we'll get lucky to, you know, that Jonah Williams pans out and they go get a veteran offensive tackle. That's wishful thinking. But, you know, in reality, you know, we can go and you get the LSU kid. Okay, you get him. And everybody's, you know, you're going to have half the people pissed off because they didn't get Tua. You know, or if you go, you know. Tua,
the problem's the injury now, so that's going to scare everybody off.
Oh, yeah. So, but, you know, you look at that, you know, and if not, they're going to take Jalen Hurts. You know, should have got Jalen Hurts. You know,
I like Jalen Hurts, too. I forgot about him.
Yeah. I mean, you're looking at, you know, these guys, and you're looking at what Lamar from Baltimore, what he is doing to the NFL. You know, he is making a difference. You know,
Joe, this is the thing. He's different than anybody I've ever seen because in the past we've seen great running quarterbacks all the way back to Fran Tarkenton, Steve Young, Randall Cunningham, Michael Vick. But the difference between him and them is they could be stopped with the right defense. What I see with him is even when the Texans defended him correctly yesterday, he would still get away from him.
Yeah.
It's just unreal.
He's a special guy. So, you know, I don't know, man. You know, the Bengals can get lucky and get a special guy. You know, but that special guy, you know, played under no matter how much or how bad people think Joe Flacco is. Joe Flacco won a Super Bowl, and he was a veteran, and he was able to learn all, you know.
Hey, how about this, Joe? Do you think if Lamar Jackson would have been drafted in the first round here, he'd have been any good?
It's hard to say. It's hard to say. I would want to say yeah, but I'm looking at the coaching staff. I'm looking at, you know, you look. Harbaugh is now running an offensive scheme based on Lamar.
Yes.
Around
and most
Lamar.
Coaches will not do that.
Yes.
So, and that's why I think Lamar Jackson fails in 90% of the places, and it's not because he wasn't a good enough quarterback. It's because his coaches wouldn't have been good enough coaches. What Harbaugh's done by building this team around him has been nothing short of amazing, I think.
Yeah. When you look. That's why I say we're talking about, you know, when some of the things, just like, okay, the current Bengal team forcing 57 to play middle linebacker. He's not a middle linebacker.
Yes.
You take a guy and you know you draft him based on what he did in college and the position that he played. You're not if you're looking at this guy's playing middle linebacker and seeing how great he did in college, that's what you're.
Yeah.
They're
trying to take a square and stick it in a hole.
Yeah. So it's. Would they have done that? No, they probably, just like here, they have an offensive scheme where they were looking for the Rams, the talent that the Rams have on offense.
I can hear Opie now. Don't be running. Aunt B's going to get mad.
The Rams last year, the last 2 years prior to this year, their offensive line, they played the same five. And those guys are pretty decent. Now this year they're suffering injuries and guys are in and out of the lineups, and it's a totally different year. But I don't know. It's just you just get a bad taste because of we do have some good football players. You do have some diehard loyal fans, and at some point in time you just got to like when to say when. As a fan, when do you just give up on the Bengals organization, or when do the organization finally? Because it's not. You don't have to go out and spend more money than everybody else. Spend the same thing.
Just do it smarter.
Do some legitimate scouting. It's not gonna change your bottom line if you hire 10 scouts.
No, you're talking about a team that makes millions of dollars a year. 10 scouts aren't going to hurt anything.
Here the lifestyle that they live. You don't see Mike Brown and them going selling in the Mediterranean in a yacht. You don't see them pulling up in Bentleys. You don't see them hobnobbing and flying their Lear jet to France. They are the most boring rich people on the planet.
But that's the problem.
So it's not. You're not. If you added $10 million to your scouting department, there's nothing. How much more money do you need?
Yeah.
You get to this point. You are so overburdened with wealth. It's ridiculous. So it's at some point in time, you want to say, okay, here I want to invest and see the fruits of my labor. I want to go ahead. Let's go and take a risk, and go get a top tier offensive lineman. Go get a top tier center. And let's see what happens. And because there are guys like that. There are guys out there. I based on Trent. I always say Trent Williams. And Mike, and goddamn it, I'm going to speak it into existence. I'm saying him.
Trent ain't that
if the
stupid.
Bengals organization, if they say, if they gave him, the top contract, offensive tackle contract, he'll come to the Bengals because it's about the money. Is there a likelihood of it really happening, Mike? I doubt it, but wishful thinking.
Trent Williams probably could just go to New England and take $1 million less and be fine with it, win a Super Bowl.
That sucks. That's just the thought that you just said that, Mike. That sucks.
Yeah, I know.
Because that's probably more reality, Mike. Than
I've interviewed players before. I won't bring up any names, but had offers from the Bengals that were more than what they were being offered, and they just decided they would rather not deal with it.
Yeah,
so,
and that's totally unfortunate because
But it's understandable also.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So if you think offensively, now that here. I think you screwed up by taking Andy out of there because if I'm a free agent, I come in and I see a young John Ross. I see the impact he made in 3-4 games. I see AJ Green. I see a Tyler Eifert. I see a Tyler Boyd. I see a Jonah Williams. I can be a piece of this. You know, if I'm a linebacker and I come in and I'm able to play behind a Geno Atkins and Carlos Dunlap, and you've seen with Sam Hubbard. Sam Hubbard is coming. Lawson is coming. You know, you got Jackson. You know, you got, you know, they're high on 30. So, you know, if another safety, you have top tier safety. So if you come in, there's some pieces that you can look and say, okay, oh, they signed that guy, and okay, I can come in and, you know, so it's not just a total wash. So anything's capable, but, you know, I think right now we're just, you know, I'm just rambling, you know, because it's all wishful thinking. And I think we're going to get the same old Bengals. They're going to, whatever position they're going to in, they're going to draft whatever is popular. And they're just going to hope that this, the 2020 team gels and does better than this year. That's it. I don't think they're going to make any huge free agent splashes. They're going to sign some mid-level guys probably, you know, and get rid of, you know, a couple awful offensive line. But, you know, they're going to get some mid-level guys because that's what they're going to pay. So, you know, unfortunately, unless you get a mid-level guy who just happens to come here and physically gel and everything we're hitting on all cylinders, you know, and make the playoffs. That's just going to be something that the Bengals organization. I think that's how they operate, hoping that it'll happen. But if it doesn't, oh well, we'll see you next year. So you know, it's tough in Bengal Nation, Mike.
Well, you know, I think the thing that's impressive, Joe, is we've still done this show every week. We've made it past week 10 now.
Wow.
We usually tap out by now, I think, or at least do it like.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Ty, where's Ty, man? Ty tapped out.
Oh, hell, no. Ty has got to teach in the morning, and Ty's too old to stay up past 10. So.
Okay. All right. I'll give Ty.
I forgot to tell people about that. Ty will be back next week, guys, and I will be back. Joe will be back, and I can pretty much guess what we're probably going to talk about, but we'll see. Maybe it'll get better. Maybe it'll beat Pittsburgh. If they do, that just means Pittsburgh sucks too. All right, Joe. We're going to go ahead and we're going to wrap it up. We'll be back next week on the Cincinnati Bengals Weekly Show. I want to remind everybody, and tell Willie Anderson he needs to get his ass on my Legends show for the NFL because he's told me a couple times he was going to be on a few years ago, and he never came on, and I gave up on him.
Yeah, I'll give him a call.
Willie was a bad dude.
Yeah,
he was in a bad situation on some bad teams, too, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But
I think he'll get that call. I think he would definitely be the second. Unfortunately, even though I think Ken Anderson should have been the second, but I think Willie would get in before Kenny.
I don't think either one of them will get in, unfortunately. But and actually, I kind of go with Ken Riley or Reggie Williams. I still think Ken Riley and Reggie Williams are two of the most underrated players in the history of football.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And the best thing about that is they're two of the better dudes you're ever going to meet, too.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know. Know them personally. So, you know, but it's you know, it's the Bengal organization playing for the Bengals. That's what you get. And, you know, you get guys like that played their entire career, you know, with the Bengals, and you know, unfortunately, they were, you know, playing in the air with some other teams that were great at the time, and you know, this is what you get. But you know, I think I know it would be an honor for those guys to get in. But you know, at the end of the day, someone like me, and you know, there's a lot of football people that feel that you know, these guys are Hall of Famers, and you know, Kenny Anderson is a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, no doubt, Kenny Anderson's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah,
best Bengal I've seen in a Bengals uniform.
Yeah, so you know, it's semantics. You know, life goes on. You know, that call comes. I just hope that, you know, those guys that are in contention to have their name called in the Hall of Fame, that is done, you know, prior to them dying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and you know, unfortunately, that, you know, that it just doesn't happen that way sometimes. But
Yeah.
You know, those
Kenny
guys.
Stabler, I think he was after,
Yeah.
wasn't
Yeah. So,
But-
you know, it's unfortunate, but I don't know, Mike. We'll see, and you know, just unfortunate, you know, that this season has turned out the way it has, man. But you know, got season tickets, Mike. Got season tickets. Be down there, man. Sunday. You know.
he? All right. I'll be driving home from Panama City, so I won't see this week
Yeah.
either.
Yeah.
And see, in the past, I would have left right after our game on Saturday, so I could have drove 11 hours just to see the Bengals-Steelers game.
Just to see the Bengals, huh? Yeah, that's
But
crazy.
it's not like that anymore.
Yeah.
But all right, Joe, we're gonna wrap it up.
Buddy.
And I want to remind everybody you can hear all of our shows on iHeart, Spotify, Spreaker, TuneIn, Stitcher, wherever you find podcasts, you'll find The Grueling Truth. So for Joe Kelly, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.